Hey guys, my name's Kyle Henderson,
And I'm Rich Moore. Knock.
and we're coming at you from the pages. This week we're going to be talking about Suicide Squad, Civil War, a bunch of hammers, and our wet dreams. So we're going to get things started off today with the Suicide Squad that's recently come out in the news. David Ayer, I believe his name is the director of the new Suicide Squad movie. We recently saw some pictures of principal photography. We've got some on-set pictures and whatnot, and we finally got to look at the cast list.
We did. We got to see some of the characters in their full costumes.
Yeah. Now it is said that Harley Quinn is probably going to be wearing multiple costumes throughout the set. So whether or not that applies to all characters or not, who knows? But we got to see them in at least probably their final battle clothes. Maybe. We'll say. Who knows? So let's go ahead. I've actually got a list here of all the people going from left to right of the picture that you can probably see above my head right now.
A fairly big cast.
It is a fairly big cast. 9 people they're going for. Now that's more than the Avengers have been able to do, and people were saying the Avengers was cluttered up. The Avengers 2 was cluttered up as it was.
I guess if you add up the new Avengers and the old Avengers, you probably only get 9, right?
Yeah,
4 or
but
5, 6. Yeah, about
people
9.
were saying some people were saying it was an Age of Ultron, is they seem to be introducing two new characters at once because they had Ultron and Vision and Wanda and Pietro and all this stuff.
I think part of the reason for that is because of the upcoming Civil War, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
You're right about that. So for right now, we want to talk about it. We're going to start on the left, and we're going to start with Slipknot. Now, I did a little bit of reading up on Slipknot. I probably would have read the comics, except he's only been in like 3 of them.
Yeah, I'd never actually heard of him before.
Yeah, no, he kind of seems like a jobber. You know, he's probably just been in the background of countless pictures of Belle Rev.
Yeah.
Or, he was punching bag of the week, and, is a term that gets thrown around. And he just kind of used ropes. He had unbreakable ropes, and
especially with strangling. I don't know where you get unbreakable ropes from, but that still sucks. That's lame.
Yeah, it's apparent. I think he worked in a rope factory, or he was a chemical engineer or something.
That's great. I love comic books.
Yeah, it's such.
I worked in a rope factory and became the strangler.
Yeah,
I love it.
So he's
Did he
Slipknot.
fall into a pile of ropes and was horribly scarred afterwards?
Yeah, he fell into a bunch of boat netting and whatnot. But so Slipknot is just like, if you're a fan of Slipknot, that's great. Congratulations. You who obviously created him. That's got to be it, man. And if you think we're talking about the bands, look at the picture. We're not too far off.
Slipknot. Yeah,
but do people even listen to him, man? I haven't heard about it. But Slipknot since like 2004.
Yeah, they're still rocking.
Are they?
Yeah.
I think like one of their, whatever. I think somebody died in it recently.
Yeah, the one guy rock starred out of
So next up on the list, past Slipknot, is somebody I recognize mostly from the coat. It was Captain Boomerang.
Yes.
Now, what was you know more about him than I do?
Yeah, so. I'm a big Flash geek, and I love the Rogues, and Digger is one of the Rogues. The Rogues Gallery is Flash's group of villains. It's a very specific group of villains that work together. And Digger Harkness, which is Captain Boomerang's name, was always kind of like the weak link of the Rogues, but he was one of them. Once you're one of the Rogues, they treat you as one of their own. They're kind of an evil family. I'm a big fan. I found him to be recognizable from the picture, one of the few characters that I did see that I was like, okay, I know who that is.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's always been the weak link of the Rogues, because the Rogues are actually a very powerful group in general. He's the guy who throws boomerangs, so he's got some Silver Age silliness that never wore off and never got updated. But he's there.
He's one of those. He's a lot of. You see this happen with a lot of characters, especially in the DC, where you have these guys that are pretty silly, but then they get a little bit more modernized. They tend to be a bit more terrifying. It's like
the whole Rogues, yeah.
Yeah, it's like he throws boomerangs, sure, but he also cut your fucking head off.
Right, and that's why they did make an attempt to update him by having his son become the new Captain Boomerang while he was dead. And his son is actually related to the Flash. His mother was from that family, so he got a limited super speed. So he couldn't run very fast, which is good because the Rogues might have killed him for that. But he could throw boomerangs very fast, which was sort of like their attempt to make him more lethal and more on the Flash's level.
Yeah,
Digger never really was. He would tie him to a giant boomerang and shoot it off and think, oh no, what's he gonna do now? He can't run in the midair. That was Silver Age. It was fun stuff.
But Silver Age is definitely.
But Digger's definitely not a nice guy. Mm-hmm. He will kill.
Oh yeah, he always had a
Digger's kind of
definitely trying to give him that hard edge, and you can tell that just from the picture alone, because everybody's kind of covered in that sort of like grit that exists in a lot of these like darker movies that are coming out. It's
none of these characters
like
are nice
Expendables
people.
and such like that. Mm-hmm. Even like the most brightest character, who we'll talk about a little bit later, is still very subdued in her coloring.
Yeah.
But next on the list is Enchantress. Now, Enchantress is somebody that I read about her 20 minutes before we're shooting this. Her character's name is June Moon, and she's possessed by not Madame Xanadu, but some spirit thing that is the Enchantress or whatever.
Okay.
She might have started off as a hero, but is now completely a villain. Actually, reading about it, it seemed like a lot of her past characteristics were actually very Hulk and Bruce Banner, in that she exists, and inside her is this spirit that wrestles control from her.
Okay, so sort of like a Star Sapphire kind of situation where she gets possessed. And
it's like Star Sapphire, Johnny Blaze, the Ghost Rider kind of deal and whatnot. It's a different entity completely and whatnot.
Yeah, I think I didn't realize who the character was. I don't think I know anything about this character because the DC Enchantress that I know of was actually Roy Harper, Arsenal, Red Arrow, Speedy, Green Arrow sidekick. That was the mother of his child, Leanne Harper. But I think that might be a totally different character, so I might be a blank slate on this one.
I think so too, because when I was reading up about her, nothing like that came up. But she came from that. Her first comic was 1966. She showed up in like Strange Tales number 24 or something like that. But she has been a presence after the New 52. She was a presence in the Suicide Squad. So that's definitely where we're seeing this whole lineup come from, is the New 52 squad. So whether or not we're going to see the same Enchantress or this sort of amalgamation, who knows? But her character also kind of looks like Calypso from the Pirates movies.
Right, from the Pirates of the Caribbean,
so the next on the list past her is Katana. Now, Katana is, I think, in League of Shadows.
I don't know a lot about the character's history. I know that she was connected with Batman's Outsiders team at one point.
Right, I remember that now with Element Man and other. I think
Metamorpho, but I don't know a ton about the character. I know she's part of she's in with the Bat family. Like she's down with Bruce, and he's one of those people he'll call and trust and stuff like that. But I don't know a ton about her beyond that.
Well, I know she just showed up in the Arrow series actually. This season or last season she showed up in this one? Yeah, she showed up in this season. I haven't had a chance to watch it. I haven't had a chance to catch up on it rather. But I know she showed up in there, and was she bad or good? She was good. All right, so. Okay, so yeah, it sounds like it's definitely that same character, not kind of diverging from her. Whether or not
I've always seen her portrayed as a hero, not as a villain. Which
Suicide
would make
Squad
her stand out on this team.
The Suicide Squad isn't supposed to be completely villains. There's like, it's more like a government black ops team, and then they use certain criminals as like, here's a way for you to lessen your penalty and for us to use you because you have a specific set of skills. So whether or not she's going to kind of be like a League of Shadows reformed person or just a generic Asian assassin thing, I don't know. She's kind of crouching. You don't really get to see too much of her. Now, next on the list after that is Rick Flag. So our director was a little confused about who Rick Flag was. Now, do you know who he is?
I've heard him mentioned, and I've seen him a couple of times, but I haven't read a lot about the character, so I can't say I'm very familiar with him. No, he was always kind of a background thing. But this is sort of the Suicide Squad to me in general. I never read Suicide Squad comics, but their presence in the DC universe all the time, especially when major crossovers happen. So I couldn't help but know of them, and my knowledge extended pretty much into what you just said. Was that it was a team of super criminals who the government was offering a pardon if they went on these suicide missions and actually survived.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much most of what I knew about the Suicide Squad. They were run by Amanda Waller, who I understand, has started to show up in the TV shows too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in Arrow, there's a lot of Suicide Squad nods. There's actually just like an absolute Suicide Squad episode, and it's got Deadshot. It has the Bomb Man, whose name whatever it was, and other things like that. And I actually like that episode. It was one of my favorite episodes. It was really well done, mostly because it had nothing to do with the Arrow. But Rick Flag kind of seems to be the Nick Fury or the Steven Rogers almost of the Suicide Squad. Again, I'm 99% of what Rich is saying, I'm also saying. I haven't read Suicide Squad before. I might have read one or two issues, and I've certainly seen them in events, so I've heard their names before, and I've known of their existence, but I'm not a deep, personal, Rich fan of the series.
Right.
So, but what I was reading up about Rick Flag, there's 3 Rick Flag, all called Rick Flag. They're all related. It's father, son, grandson. And which one this is, not 100% certain. But the middle one, the first Rick Flag was served in the original incarnation of Suicide Squad, which was actually from World War II, and they were kind of like DC's Howling Commandos.
Okay.
So Rick Flag, the Rick Flag Senior was very much that Nick Fury-esque element, and then Nick Fury Jr. kind of tried to be almost like the conscience, it seemed, of different iterations of the Suicide Squad over the years. Now, whether or not this is actually their son or if this is just using the name and it's a whole new character, again, we don't know. All we really have is principal photography and costuming, which for him is just generic military. He's got a gun. So that's Rick Flag, guys. Now, next up is the one that has set the internet ablaze. Everybody and their mother has an opinion on this costume, on whether or not they should use a bat, or if they have guns, or if she's fucked in the head, which she is. But of course, there's Harley Quinn. Now, Harley Quinn, her costuming design is very much indicative of New 52, where she has like the multicolored hair and she dresses like a slut, which she does. She just does. You know,
most women in comics do, and I'll even throw in unfortunately there because I'm old enough to not want that all the time. But yeah.
And like Harley Quinn has definitely gotten to that point where like I do not want to read issues with Harley Quinn on it because it's like
she's become a really popular character just in general right now. I think she's a big T-shirt seller and that kind of thing.
She's always been big. You know,
she's got a very marketable image, and women seem to really like Harley Quinn. Kevin Smith really likes Harley Quinn. He named his kid
after her. Yeah,
and she's actually from the Batman TV series. She wasn't from the comic. She was originally. She was from the '90s cartoon, which was amazing, by the way. You should check that out if you've never seen it. Yeah. That's good Batman.
Originally created by Bruce Timm. Yeah, and Tim. I want to say Tim Sale, but I think I'm wrong on that guy was involved.
Denny maybe.
Paul Dini. There we go. Paul Dini was involved, and man, that TV show did so much for Batman's rogues. You know, like. The concept we have,
Mr. Freeze.
I'm going to go. Was he created for that show?
No,
Mr. Freeze was completely reworked him. Yeah. The scientist background was given to him the animated show. Before that, he was just a crook with a freeze gun.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, he was definitely fleshed out in that show, along with a bunch of other people. That show even made Clayface interesting. Made
Clayface interesting. It made I fell in love with the Bane from it and whatnot. You know, and like I love the story of Bane and Nightfall and all that stuff from the comics.
Yeah, that show did a lot for the image of Batman in general in popular consciousness, and it added Harley Quinn into the mythology, and she's very popular right now.
It definitely added her in, and her like. What we're seeing from her costuming trends is she always wore the same red and black Harlequin leotard thing, but like it was actually it can be traced back to Arkham Asylum. The game came out in 2000. I want to say 9, maybe 8, maybe I think it was 2009.
Right.
The game came out probably 10 actually, and Harley Quinn was wearing this slutty nurse outfit. She was wearing red and blue instead of black and red.
They gave her a few different outfits in that. And that game tweaked the costumes for everyone a little bit so it had its own look, which is cool.
It tweaked the costumes for everybody, but you know what it did? Like, the Joker's costume stayed very similar. When we saw Two-Face's costume looked the same. The Scarecrow did get a very large change in how he looked, but it more adopted the mask from Batman Begins, and he had this creepy syringe hand.
Yeah, which I played through one of them. I wasn't enough of a fan of the game to want to seek out the sequels and everything.
I played through all 3 of them, and Arkham City, the sequel, is amazing. Yeah. It is very well done, and it definitely kind of it extrapolates on a lot of characters having these newer costumes, but with the exception of...
So it's kind of where Harley's came from?
It's definitely where Harley kind of developed this new image that was almost completely devoid of the Harley Quinn checker
spandex.
Pattern. Yeah, no spandex.
No spandex. No. Just, a pair of short shorts, some fishnets, and a funny T-shirt. Right?
Exactly, yeah. And then this one,
she's... Some pigtails and a bludgeoning weapon.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, exactly. That's like what she was in another one. And this one, she's like... The actress they got to play her definitely looks the part, and... It seems a bit much, and she sticks out so much compared with the rest of the Suicide Squad.
Everybody else is all wearing black.
Everybody's got black.
They've kind of had that early X-Men look where everybody's just going to wear black leather, except for Harley, who's bright red pigtails and white hair and all kinds of different colors.
Which works with her character.
She looks like a clown.
Yeah,
but she looks like a clown hanging out with a bunch of special ops guys.
Yeah, so like weird. It works with her character because that's what she is. She is this sort of like, I am my own person. I kind of do my own thing. Yeah. Because she's beyond batshit insane.
Beyond.
And like, I just want to say this right now to anybody out there who thinks Harley Quinn is like, she doesn't come from an abusive relationship. She's fucked in the head. Okay? She never batted an eye when she had to kill people with the Joker. All right? She has a PhD because she literally fucked her way through college. That was something Bruce Timm wrote down, the guy that created her in the Batman TAS storyline.
Well, this is a problem.
She fucked her way through college to a PhD.
This is a problem with the character, and I think you're gonna. I think we're both, because I agree with you 100%. By the way, Harley Quinn is an awful evil monster and a mass murderer. But She's become popular now, which means they're going to start to make her a little more sympathetic and heroic. Now, I haven't read a ton of comics with Harley Quinn in it, and there have been many since the introduction of the character. She's been very, very prominent in a lot of the comics, doing team-ups, especially with other female characters.
She's got this great big ongoing thing with Catwoman and Poison Ivy.
Yeah, and then, there's stuff with Power Girl and stuff like that in it, but my thing is I view her as a villain as well. But as she gets more and more popular, they might romanticize her a little bit, and they might portray her as a victim. I agree with you. I think that she's a monster, and I don't see her as a victim of the Joker. I see her as a willing sycophant. She's a willing zealot.
Exactly.
I don't think the Joker screwed up her head. I think it was already screwed up, like you said.
Yeah,
and the Joker just gave sort of a trigger. It gave her a focus.
Exactly. Yeah, the Joker just kind of gave her the direction,
right? It gave her a focus for her mania, and that's
she's
a monster, and seriously mentally ill.
I can go on and on about this. Like, you have no idea how much it pisses me off when I'm reading shit online. All these people talking about how like the Joker and her are this beautiful romance and whatnot. No, fuck you. You got shit-tasting men.
That's the Twilight fan. That's the Twilight fan.
It's the Twilight fantasy bullshit. But it has nothing to do.
I don't give a shit. Screw you.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it has nothing to do with Suicide Squad, which we're trying to talk about. And I said we had to go on this rant, but I'm probably going to get on in another character.
Moving on.
Now we're going to move on to Deadshot, being played by Will Smith, the most famous person in this movie. Also, the most, which is funny because, with the exception of the fact that he's black, he's the most looks like his character. We've seen the full garb suit, which is a separate picture. And that looks like that is totally Deadshot.
He is all red, but honestly, the thing that I find recognizable, I don't even know what Deadshot looks like without his mask in the comics. First of all,
he's just like a generic. I might be Australian.
I didn't know. I didn't even know he was white. I've never seen him without his mask in the comics. He always has that full face mask with the monocle thing, target reticle going on, and that's always how I've seen him. So I couldn't even tell you his race or what he looks like under it. Now he is wearing all red. I've since looked up a couple of different versions of his costume, and it doesn't change that.
No, it always keeps very strong elements of the eye, the white mask.
It's the reticle and the monocle and the white mask, and everything else just kind of like vaguely alters little by little. But he's recognizable.
He's recognizable outside of this picture, because the one you're looking at right now, it's just Will Smith with a gun and some body armor. But they do have a full-blown picture of him in the suit.
With the full mask.
Yeah, and that looks great. He totally looks exactly like you would expect him to look. And I like that. I like the way it looks. And I think Will Smith is fine for this character. He's played like darker and dirtier, and I think he can do it. I believe in Will Smith as an actor, so I'm not like terrified that this is him doing the role.
Yeah.
And overall, the way he looks is just great. I'm impressed. It's
one of the nice things about having something like this, where I'm not a huge fan of the comics, is that I really don't care. Like, just make a good story.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right.
Like, normally we have our nerd hang-ups about what we want to see from our things, but there's stuff now, because everything's branching out so far. There's stuff now that I'm not a huge fan of the particular comic or that character, and that's somewhat liberating for me a little bit, because then I don't have to worry about, are they going to do him right? Because I really don't care.
No, yeah, I agree with you on that point. I mean, it's kind of something we're looking at here with Suicide Squad, with the exception of Harley and the next one that I'm going to talk about.
And the next one
is Killer Croc.
Yeah, Moose.
Yeah, Moose, which is a great way to describe him. He looks retarded. It doesn't make sense. He kind of looks like they just didn't want to put the face on, right? And then he didn't bother to give him the body. So unless they just haven't done the CG yet, and they're going to make his head go up and expand his body out.
Mean, the Killer Croc in my mind from the comics is huge. He's absolutely huge. Every time I've ever seen him, even in a less stylistic art style, he's still huge. He's still much bigger than Batman. Like, towers over him. He's monstrously big. This character is obviously not monstrously big.
Yeah, this guy looks, he's maybe 6'4", 6'5", but there was this issue.
Looks like Will Smith is about the same height as him.
Yeah, he does. He's got like an inch on him. But then he's also wearing the hood, which kind of, blocks that out. Like, I remember reading
don't like the face, to be honest with you.
I don't like the face. I think it looks really bad.
His jaw is too big.
Yeah.
He's got like the big
his head looks like it belongs on an 8-foot body, but it's just not.
It does. And I wanted the 8-foot body kind of a little bit. He's one of the few characters on the team that I really do recognize as a main Batman villain, or a main-ish Batman villain.
And he's definitely up there. He's on
think he looks kind of goonish. I mean, Moose from the Archie comics, he has a bit of that going on. He looks like
he's real thick neck, thick jowled. He's kind of like.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I don't like it at all. No. I think I'm afraid they're just going to make
nothing about this is crocodile. It looks like we found a mask that they didn't use for Babylon 5.
Or the mask they did use in Battlefield Earth.
Yes. Yeah.
See, something too is about the Killer Croc's characters. Like, when he first came out, he was just a guy with a skin disease. and he was just the crocodile man.
And later on, he ends up getting like superpowers.
Yeah,
and becoming like a monstrous cannibal.
He ends up getting
eats
fucked up,
people,
and he starts eating people and whatnot. And somebody experiments on with him, maybe from Suicide Squad, But he definitely becomes way more bestial over time. But so overall, that's, I think, in my opinion, actually the worst design. I'm not a big fan of the way Harley Quinn looks, but her actress is pretty. And like the suit, looks whatever. It's fine. She just doesn't stick. She just sticks out too much. But this Killer Croc genuinely just looks bad.
Yeah, I don't think it looks any good. Harley sticks out on purpose. That's a design. I don't think they designed Killer Croc to look silly. He should be. I think he should look scary. Now, maybe he's actually going to be the comedy relief in the show. I don't know, but I always thought of him as a monster that eats people. And not as very humorous,
Yeah, he's never really been a...
Most of the time he has the Hulk's fashion sense and he's hanging out in a sewer, so...
There was that time with the big rock, though.
I threw a rock at him!
So next we're going to talk about the last character in Suicide Squad, who's somebody we just don't know about. His name is El Diablo.
Which means the fighting chicken, I believe.
Yes, I believe it does. Also possibly a whale's vagina. I wrote down here on my notes, dumb butts. He's just like a guy. He might be possessed, so he might have supernatural powers, or he might just be a schmuck from Mexico. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not even sure what his name is. There's like 3 or 4 Diablos, El Diablos.
For a show called The Suicide Squad, this is a very large roster of people starting out. Like, there's a lot of people on this team to start. And the name of the show, and the name of the movie, and the name of the team is Suicide Squad. I don't think they're all coming at it the same way.
Oh, no way. You told it was going to die.
Some of these people are going to die.
It's going to die in this order. And like,
oh, you have them in death
It's going to die from
it's
going to die from side to side, right? El Diablo's totally going to die. Killer Croc is going to get fucked up but probably survive. And then you've got Slipknot is totally going to die. And Captain Boomerang, who we're probably going to think dies, but maybe makes it through in the very end. Maybe. Enchantress Katana, Rick Flag, Enchantress Katana, either of them could die. They probably won't kill them, since if they kill off Slipknot and El Diablo, then it'll be like 3 chicks and 4 guys, which will be the biggest like the gender diversity they've ever had.
There's only one person on that team that I'm sure is not going to die, and that's Harley Quinn.
Deadshot.
No.
It's the only one they bothered paying for a real actor. Everybody else is like season D's I've never even heard of.
Do you know why I think that, though? Is because Will Smith is not going to want to sign on to a 6-picture deal. And if they're going to start going the Marvel route, they're going to start signing people with these kind of options.
I don't know.
He's not going to want to be Deadshot forever.
Okay, so
he's not going to want to be Deadshot for the next 5-10 years.
Well,
I don't think so.
Well, now hear me out about this, right? So, before Robert Downey Jr. became Tony Stark, he was a washed-up actor who hadn't worked in like 6 years. He was. He hadn't really been doing stuff before then. Then he got a hold of the Tony Stark thing, and his career was completely re-envisioned, was relived and whatnot. Okay. Chris Evans was in 2 movies. He was in 3 movies that I can think of that had nothing to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Not another teen movie. I fucking love that movie.
I love Not Another Teen Movie. He was also in another comic book movie. I can't remember the name.
He was Johnny Storm.
And he was Johnny Storm.
He's Johnny Storm.
So he was in like 4 movies. So he barely had a career before this. Chris Hemsworth, I'd never heard of before.
No, he's fairly an unknown.
Yeah, like
he had done something, but hadn't done anything.
Thor did him such a good job. His brother is now an actor, Liam Hemsworth. So, and Will Smith, like, what was the last movie? Well, honestly, what was the last movie Will Smith was in?
Well, I think it was that bomb he did with his son, right?
Yeah, that was the bomb he did.
After Earth.
After Earth, and then
he said it was the most painful failure of his career.
He had a movie come out earlier this year with Margot Robbie, actually called Focus, that didn't do that well.
Right, that's it. Focus. Right, yeah, okay, that didn't do well.
This one career's not going well. Jumping into the superhero supervillain pool is probably a good way to go.
It's working. Look what it's done for everybody. Hell, look, Josh Brolin's been getting a steady paycheck, and he says 1 line. He said 4 lines, and he's been paid Josh Brolin money.
He might be getting paid for the con appearances too. You don't know.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Like Will Smith isn't dumb. He sees there's paychecks in the future.
The only person I feel that is safe is Harley Quinn, because she's a big enough character, and I could see them giving her her own movie.
I could certainly see them not wanting to kill her off just because of the media lashback. It's hard enough out there nowadays with so many social justice warriors trying to keep things equal and whatnot, that killing off a woman is like...
I'm all for strong female characters. I just think she's a bad one.
I don't even think she's a bad one. I think they've just taken her in the wrong direction.
She's a bad person.
She's definitely just a bad person.
So I don't see them making Harley Quinn into a strong female lead, because she's not supposed to be nice. She's a killer. She's a murderer. So But it is a Suicide Squad, so hopefully a bunch of them die. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be great. I'd love to see that. Throw these fucking name aways. I don't fucking need all the
We're not going to talk about the other movie.
Or Slipknot and whatnot. I didn't listen to their music back in high school. I'm not going to watch them in a fucking superhero movie. So anyway, folks, that's our big fat long rant about Suicide Squad. Hope you enjoyed it.
And we got all that out of like 4 pictures, so wait until it comes out.
We'll have a
lot more to talk about.
Hey guys, thank you so much for coming out to watch us. We sort of had way too much to talk about this time, so we're actually going to be releasing this episode in about 3 parts. So go ahead and pay attention. Stay tuned for the rest of it that's going to be coming out. Just probably look over to the right side since you'll be watching this probably on YouTube, and you're going to see the rest of the links. As always, my name is Kyle Henderson.
I'm Rich Moore.
And we are from The Pages. Like, share, subscribe, get our name out there. Thank you very much for your patronage. Have a good night.